So by now, I guess we can all agree that Resident Evil 9 Requiem is a very good game. Honestly, after going through it, I can say that I like it more than Resident Evil 8 and possibly maybe even 7. The game actually manages to blend together the survival horror and action horror genre quite neatly, with Grace being the focus of horror and survival horror, while Leon being the focus of action and survival horror. Though the survival horror aspect for Leon is dialed down, it still exists in minor jolts. All in all, I think the game is a solid 8.5 or 9 out of 10. The gameplay it offers is addicting, and the story it tells is pretty good. When it comes to gameplay, the difference between Leon and Grace is massive, but instead of negatively impacting your experience, it helps exceed it. Grace is an FBI agent and has some past trauma. Being sent to the place that caused that said trauma in the first place already has her shaken up, but it gets worse when she is caught up in the schemes of our antagonists. This aspect of her is not only shown or dealt with in the story cutscenes, but also shown in the gameplay. Whenever Grace jitters or is scared, her aim becomes jolty. She shakes and can't keep a steady shot. Now this doesn't mean that she can't aim or her aim is bad and she doesn't hit her shots. It just means that if you're trying to hit the head, the shot is going to land on the torso or the neck instead. This makes the player feel like Grace in that scenario, especially if you're using the first person perspective, which is the default perspective for Grace. I have to say one thing though, the voice actor of Grace, Angela Saltalbano, apologies if I pronounced the name wrong, gave us a great performance. Her voice acting dialed every panic and fear moment for Grace up to 110, making Grace feel almost alive. I also have to give props to the director and writers too, who gave the materials and directions or vision to Angela, bring forth Grace in such flying colors. Grace's perspective is supposed to be slow, with some parts being fast. You have to sneak by enemies, take mental notes, take different routes, decide if you want to kill an enemy or not, and it is really good in that regard. Really, it is similar to old Resident Evil games, especially if you play on the classic difficulty instead of the modern, because you have to also require ink ribbons to make saves. Leon's perspective on the other hand is opposite. Leon, being a veteran and having seen the same shit many times, doesn't really react to it like Grace. It barely phases him at all, if even at all. He doesn't get spooked and feels like a powerhouse. I love the axe and hatchet that he uses, which is now not a breakable resource like Resident Evil 2 Remake or Resident Evil 4 Remake, but a limited one still. It will become dull the more you use it. However, to combat that, a sharpening mechanic is introduced. The sharpening mechanic in of itself is a really fun way to keep the players on their toes as well. Leon's whole shtick is having the guns and upgrades and blasting enemies. Most of the ammo types come back as well. The Dragonfly, Red Eagle, Leon has different guns that he can use as well, from different shotguns to different handguns, machine guns, Magnum, revolver, and they all feel amazing. They all have that sense of power behind them. Each feels unique and fills that specific itch that you might have for a specific thing. For example, if you want a shotgun to go crazy, you can do that thanks to a system of good old Resident Evil making a return. Now, there is no merchant, which is a bummer, instant minus 1000 points, but it makes up for it in the mechanic itself, so I guess I can bring it back up to 9 out of 10. The gun upgrades feel similar to Resident Evil 4 and its remake, but is more, how do I put it, in depth. There's a handgun that you can buy that has a built-in suppressor and I love using it. Personally though, I haven't played the game multiple times just yet. All this combines together makes it so that each weapon is unique and have upgrades that make them further shine in a specific way, similar to the original Resident Evil 4 and its remake, allowing for Leon to blast away zombies in different ways. The game in Leon's section sort of provides a taste of open worldness that the game was aiming for before they landed on the current vision. Though it is not completely open world, if you can even call it that, it sure makes you feel that way, or at least it made me feel that way. I would have loved if we could explore more of Raccoon City ruins than what we were given the free reign to do so. The only downside I have for Leon's campaign is the same one I have for Jake's and Chris's campaign in Resident Evil 6. The zombies firing fucking guns. However, it is nowhere near as bad as Resident Evil 6. It irks me a bit to see a zombie fire a gun, but it is nowhere near as bad as them being trained soldiers taking cover and then turning into a giant fucking grasshopper to ruin your day. They were objectively worse than even JJ from Resident Evil 4. Like, they are the worst fucking enemies you can possibly make in Resident Evil 6. To this day, I don't think there's any enemy that is worse than the fucking sea virus zombies in Resident Evil 6. Either way, back to Resident Evil Requiem. Leon's campaign is meant for the player to go all out without fearing anything besides health and ammo on higher difficulties. You get ammo as drops from boxes and containers similar to Resident Evil 4. The melee feels a mix of Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 6, with you being able to use a heavy and normal attack to strike using your axe. We also get the same kicks that we saw in Resident Evil 4, where you shoot an enemy and a prompt appears for you to go up close and personal. We also got some finishers similar to Resident Evil 6, and seeing Leon use the weapons of zombies on them, including but not limited to poles, axes, chainsaws, the melee feels great to say the least. The parry mechanic from Resident Evil 4 also makes a comeback, and it feels just as good, maybe even more now that you have a weapon that you can restore yourself, which, as mentioned, adds risks. When you're parrying an attack that could instant kill you, or if you parry too many, as you might get done during the sharpening animation, or by the fact that you didn't sharpen your weapon in the first place. Instead of going around looking for a weapon, running around like a little chicken from instant death attacks, I feel like this is a really good way of giving the player a chance to at least fight back against instant death attacks. Overall, I enjoy the gameplay of both characters and have no issues with the gameplay itself. Just because of the gameplay, I can already say I recommend this game to even those who have no knowledge of Resident Evil. However, from here on out, we're going to be entering the spoilers territory, so if you haven't played the game, I suggest that you skip this section now. So Grace is sent to a town near Raccoon City to investigate the series of murders that might be linked to the outbreak. During her investigation, she is ambushed by Victor, who takes her, but is spotted by Leon. He tries to follow him as he is carrying the unconscious Grace, but loses them due to Victor infecting nearby civilians, causing a minor outbreak. She wakes up in a hospital owned by Victor Gideon and has to explore the place in an effort to escape. She is cornered and is saved by Leon, who gives her Requiem to escape. Along the way, while exploring, she finds a young girl, Emily, who can't see and tries to escape together with her, but with no avail. She is then approached by Victor Gideon and Dolores Wesker, and makes her way to Raccoon City to release Elpis, the final weapon made by Oswald E. Spencer. However, she learns the real truth about herself, Elpis, and helps Leon defeat the bad guys. Grace's story was quite different. I'm glad she is not just a Sherry 2.0 having a virus in her body, she's just a normal person that was adopted by Alyssa Ashcroft from Oswald E. Spencer. Though I don't know how to feel about Oswald's redemption, it is good, but where does it really fit? We know that somewhere between 2003 and 2006, he still hadn't changed, giving money and test subjects plus resources to Alex Wesker so that she can develop a virus capable of restoring his youth and health back. So when was Elpis created? I guess you can say that it happened during or somewhere around this time period after the whole Alex Wesker thing, but I'll go along with it, I won't argue much. Either way, it is pretty okay. I didn't like that we just saw Alyssa to see her get murdered, and I might have missed it, but I didn't see any other survivors from Outbreak mentioned. Though, like I said before, I might have missed their name drop, honestly, because I was just rushing my way to make it to Raccoon City. I like that at first the game gets us to believe that Grace is Emily only for Oswald to go, no, she's normal. The interaction between her and Emily was quite wholesome, and the tension really rose in sections where you carry her and can't find back. The fake out got me quite upset, but not as upset as one of the endings, more on that ending later. Now Leon's story is where I have some issues, and this issue is not an issue with the story of Resident Evil 9, but with what modern Capcom is doing regarding the original games and continuity. Basically, for those of you who are out of loop, when GOG approached Capcom to talk about selling the original series with better controls and stuff on the GOG store, the people over at Capcom were not very thrilled, to say the very least.
But what I find really interesting is that you released the Resident Evil games last year, right? But it was the original Resident Evil games, you know, as they were in 96, 97. But they've been remastered and remade and reskinned. Do you find that there was an audience of people that just wanted that
the OG experience. One of the people that were spearheading the project within GOG, like convincing Capcom that because that was actually their main counter-argument when we were trying to bring back the classic games. They were like, okay, we have all of those remakes. It's already like superior experience, right, to those games. So they didn't really see the value in bringing back the classical versions, the vanilla ones. It would take a lot of convincing that, hey guys, there is an audience that has a lot of memories about those games, right? And they would love to be able to experience exactly the same game again, right? And so thankfully we were able to convince them. They trust us into, working on one of their biggest IPs, if not the biggest. And, when we launched the game on GOG, the reception was absolutely phenomenal.
They said that why would they sell games that are old when there are better alternatives present now? And this is what pisses me off. Sure, when it comes to controls and accessibility, the modern remakes are good, but to claim that they're a better experience is just not true. The original Resident Evil 2's scenario mechanic are unmatched, and it shows because the remake was not even supposed to have a scenario B until Capcom got backlash and they decided to give us a haphazardly thrown scenario B that is actually basically the scenario A. You still find the same broken forms and almost go through the entire same things, save for a few sections here and there like the sewer gator or orphanage that are different. Resident Evil 3 Remake was a dumpster fire, and I don't even have to tell you that. I'm pretty sure every single Resident Evil fan will agree to that with me, that it was not good. And Resident Evil 4 Remake was good, but again, content don't sit right with me. I like that Ashley and Leon had more to go off of now, that interactions between them felt real, and I like it honestly. But my only complaint with Resident Evil 4 Remake is the cut content, not the additions. Why am I bringing all of this up? Because modern Capcom is trying its best to make the remakes the default experience. For those that haven't watched Resident Evil Death Island, I can't express how much I disliked what they did to Jill. Now, to be clear, me saying that I don't like this Jill doesn't mean I don't like the performance by Nicole Tompkins. And personally, I would not go out of my way or want anyone else to go out of their way to harass the voice actor for following the directions and writing material given to her. Her performance, I think, with the material that is given to her is perfect. However, this Jill is not the same Jill Valentine that we followed all over those different mediums. Basically, Jill was acting like a completely different person. Mind you, Death Island takes place after Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 in 2015. Jill shouldn't be the one acting like her remake self, when we have seen so many evidence of her character being completely different. Now, all I'm saying with this is that she would never call any other person an asshole for their trauma. Seeing this Jill in Death Island was the first sign for me that something is wrong. Then the whole GOG news came out, and now with Resident Evil 9, it is basically confirmed at this point. Capcom wants to make the remakes the actual past. What do I mean? In Resident Evil 2, 1998, Kendo is killed by zombies, and he has no daughter or wife or anything. In fact, his death is funny, but in the Resident Evil 2 remake, he is a victim now. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, I like this aspect a lot. However, this is a completely different Robert Kendo than the one we see in the original game. Now, why am I bringing this up? In Resident Evil 9, when Leon heads back to Kendo's shop, what do you think happens? Well, Leon reminisces about that time and apologizes to Kendo for not being able to save them. Now this makes for a great moment, but breaks the continuity because this Robert Kendo is not the original Robert Kendo from the 1998 game. No, this Robert Kendo is the one from the remake of 2019. This is why I believe that Capcom is trying to make remakes the actual past now, or the actual true timeline. This is me disregarding other facts such as the canon way to play the original Resident Evil 2 is to play Claire's scenario first, so disc 2 is scenario A and Leon second, so disc 1 is scenario B. Since Leon is the one who carries Sherry to the train while Claire is the one setting things up, then he finds Mr. X before he goes to find William Form 5. This way, it makes sense for Sherry to be grateful to Leon and say that she owes him her life. Not to mention, it is a well-known fact at this point. And if you take that into regard, then everything falls apart because Leon met dead Marvin in scenario B. Resident Evil 9 makes it so that Leon is the one who met Marvin, but then that means he didn't bring Sherry to the train, and what little interaction he had with Sherry was nothing because Claire is the one who defeats Form 5 Birkin in scenario B in the remake. My issue is that Capcom is putting all that came before it in the ground. Now some people might say that this is an exaggeration, but I believe it is not. As someone seeing one of my favorite characters becoming unrecognizable and seeing the past of others changing, this is not an exaggeration. This breaks a lot of things, and personally I don't like it. It is fine if you do, but I'm sure other Resident Evil enthusiasts won't like it as well. It makes for great moments in Resident Evil 9, and I love those moments. But after the post-nut clarity, and as someone who considers the remake a remake or remaster and not something meant to replace the original, well, it felt off, weird even. Like, I am supposed to just shut off my brain and keep on playing the game without asking these questions. Maybe it is a me thing from not taking the reimagining part too literally because Capcom Store is taking it, and going on forward, I think you should not be surprised if something from the remake is given more priority over what came before. It also makes it feel like they focused too much on Resident Evil 2 remake because Leon was acting like he didn't save a single person. Brother, there's a whole game of you saving a single girl from an entire cult. You saved Sherry, you saved people in China. Oh wait, he didn't. But he saved Claire multiple times, saved Angela and other survivors at the airport in Resident Evil Degeneration, saved this guy, and the president, and who knows how many more. I mean, you can chuck it up to Leon being tired and the trauma of Raccoon City coming back, but still, it was as if the entire focus was on Leon and this guilt, this feeling of him not having saved enough people when he has saved plenty of them, and acting like Grace is the only person he has saved. Again, this might be my interpretation and I could be wrong, but to me it felt like that thanks to the Destroy Elpis ending, where Elpis is destroyed and Leon helps Grace escape at the cost of his life, claiming, "At least I managed to save you." You can say that this is in regards to Raccoon City, but again, he saved Claire and Sherry in Raccoon City. Alternatively, you can look at it like this, that he didn't manage to end the war of Mire Terror, but at least he saved her. To which I can get behind, honestly. If that's the case, it makes for a really good moment. Also, what is with Capcom killing Leon in What Ifs? He has died the most out of any other Resident Evil protagonist in these What If choice endings. Personally, for me, this is the only issue I have with Resident Evil 9. But I guess, like I said before, this is not even a Resident Evil 9 issue, it is more of a Capcom issue. Again, don't get me wrong, I love the gameplay, I did enjoy the story, but these moments really make you question, what is the timeline of events now? Are we just not supposed to take the originals as a canon? Do they even hold any value from a story point of view now? All in all, I feel like Resident Evil 9 is a great game, but the lack of a new game plus is quite questionable and shocking. This is the only gameplay thing that I find weird and shocking, honestly. Maybe they'll end it later down the road. I hope I'm not the only person who feels this way regarding the remakes and Resident Evil 9 and the way they handled the past of Leon. Because it just feels weird to me seeing the remake taking priority over what came originally. Either way, I can understand if you people think I'm crazy, because I might be looking maybe too much into it. Maybe I am looking too much into it, but that is how I personally felt about it. Overall, I do love the game a lot. I'm gonna play the shit out of this game because I just love it that much. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribe. I usually talk about the Fate series on this channel, but I love Resident Evil 2, and I'll be making more videos regarding different things in the future. With that being said, adios.